we recording? I am getting so good at this. It's like scary almost.
And I still have not learned how to do it.
Hi, Pimpy.
Hi, how are you?
Pimpy, third time in a row. Lucky charm today.
Yeah.
So I think, you know what I think I want to start with today, Pimpy? I want to start with update with your situation because what did they do? They remove your Facebook completely, right?
Yeah, so what I think we're figuring out is this, because now a lot of my friends have been removed from social platforms.
Yeah.
So my feeling is this, because some of our friends, their account has been deleted. It tells you that. It says your account has been deleted.
Mm-hmm.
On some of ours, it says your account has been disabled. So when the news came out about Joe Biden's son,
right,
and his
situation,
drug use and connections to China and Russia and pedophilia, you know, I reported the articles, and so they disabled my accounts, both of them. So it says disabled. My guess is they're probably going to keep us disabled until after the election is what it is.
Okay. So tell me why.
I might be wrong.
But Pimpy, you mentioned on your video, what did they do to your YouTube channel? The one that you have, the Pimpy investment chat, they demonetized it, right?
Yeah, they do that sometimes. And then you have to go through this review process. So I went through the review process, and then, so they monetize my videos back, but on some of them, they said they won't monetize them.
Yeah,
it's usually my biggest ones.
I hope you're not gone, you know, because like if you're gone, oh, not good, but you won't be.
Hopefully.
Sending good vibes there. So Pimpy,
good vibes.
You know what else? Oh, yes, that's very important because thank you, universe, God, higher power. I am also part of this Gesara Club with Charlie, and we have to say this. If you cannot find Pimpy, you go to gesaraclub.com and then you find all the videos from Pimpy. And there was one yesterday, you just talked to Charlie. Can I tell you, I love that short video because you were literally showing people the coins and the bars and the difference, and you were explaining what is what. So Money Metals Exchange, again, you have the promo Pimpy code when you spend over $100, the first purchase only. So don't be smart, okay, people? First purchase.
Well, I think what happens is most of the time when we talk about precious metals, you know, it's not just, sometimes it's not just cut and dry. It's, you know, you got to know a little more. Why is the price different for rounds and bars versus the American Eagles? Why is there smaller versions of these coins? And so, you know, Charlie's like, look, we really, on our end over here, you talk to your subscribers for the most part. On our end, we need to just explain it a little bit. I was like, no problem. I got all kinds of examples.
I love that.
So that's what we did. Yeah.
Yeah, it was, I was like, oh my God, this guy is like the national treasure. Like you had everything. This is the bar. This is when you collect, this is when you stack, I was brilliant. Like if people don't get it, then I don't know.
Look, when it comes to precious metals, I'm like a big kid in a toy store. I got all kinds of toys, you know what I mean? I got all kinds of different sizes of coins and, you know, shapes, pictures, the whole 9 yards. But also I'm a numismatic collector. So I'm a collector of coins. So I would have a much higher, you know what I mean? Like a variety of pack than other people would.
You're just very, very much above average. That's what it is. Pimpy, let's start.
Yeah, a little bit.
First question I have for you is,
sure.
You remember this situation? I was so confused and you were trying to explain to me, and I'm still a little confused, that the Silver Eagle not circulated 2020 supposed to be $67, right? What's happening? Why is not 67?
It's 67. It is. Okay, so let me explain. Because when the first time, she's getting old now. She barks at everything. So let me explain. The way when I first put out the video the first time, the way I was wording it, you know, was misleading, I think, and I didn't realize it. My friend's like, he called me up. He goes, "Do you mean this?" And I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "But that's not what you said in your video." I did a second video trying to clear it up a little bit. So here's what happens. Our U.S. Mint mints coins. In other words, they produce them.
Mm-hmm.
And they put out these collectible coins, is what it is. So these American Eagles, so for collectors, us numismatic collectors, you have a coin that we call a business strike. These are ones that when you go to the store, they give you change back. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Quarters, nickels, dimes. Those are called business strike coins. The purpose of them is to be used in public, used for transactions. That's called a business strike coin. You have what's called a mint set. So it's a version of those mint coin or of those business strikes. It's the same thing, but they put them in these little nifty sets that's not been touched.
Mm-hmm.
So they're uncirculated.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So you have coins that are in this pristine condition. They're very desirable because they look beautiful. They're collectible.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have a version called a proof set, which is they take the same coin, but they strike it 3 times. And the design is immaculate. It's gorgeous. It has a mirror reflection. You can see all the details very, very clearly. So you pay a little bit more for those because, again, as a collector, you want the thing that's most attractive, you know what I mean? That has that collectible desire. Well, when the news came out that the mint was going to raise the value of the coin, and they did, by the way, on the American Eagle, they put on there the uncirculated coin is what they put. We're going to raise money on this. All silver products actually went up, and they showed you the different price. But the one everybody was focusing on in our industry was what they called the uncirculated coin, which to collectors we know is just a mint coin. It's the same as a business coin. It's just not being used in public. So I thought, whoa, okay, this is good. It still is good, by the way. So they raised it. So why would they raise a coin unless they anticipate the value of silver going up? And that we think that plus, they have to cover costs and expenses. So when we saw that, it was good news. And we wanted to let people know about it because the presumption is if they're raising, and it was by a lot, not like a little, if they're raising that high of a cost just to buy a coin, a collectible coin, then they're anticipating a rise in actual silver cost. So that's what we thought. By the way, it still is. So even so, we can buy the same coin from Money Metals for, I think, $13, $14 cheaper. And that's what people weren't understanding. Yeah, so what happened was, this is confusing because I'm going, okay, why is it so high? There's no reason for it to be this high in value unless they're anticipating something. Well, that was part of the problem. And my friend, again, we're talking English. You have your mint sets. I go, yeah. And he goes, you have your proof coins. I go, yeah. He goes, and then you called business strikes. I said, yeah. He goes, there's nothing else? I go, no, there's business strikes, there's proof coins, and you have uncirculated, which is your mint coins. And I go, oh, there's another type of coin. It's called varnished. And he goes, what is that? I go, it's the same as a mint set, but they put a kind of chemical on it. It makes it look shiny. That's what it is. And so I thought, you know what? And so I kept researching. When you go onto the U.S. website, it tells you that this is an uncirculated coin. To collectors, we're like, that's no big deal. Every coin we buy from Money Metals for way cheaper is the same thing. It's uncirculated.
Yeah.
We keep it in this container. We stack them. That's all you do. That's why I tell people don't touch your coins. Well, the more research I did, I came across another article that was talking about the difference between a business strike, an uncirculated mint set, a proof set, and of course the varnished. And so I was like, oh, okay, so there is varnish. I knew that. And then it had on the very bottom a disclaimer that said, oh, by the way, the U.S. Mint does not label these coins as varnished. They label them as uncirculated. And I was like, okay, so that's what it is. So not only do you get the fancy little blue box and a little bag, and you get the coin with a little certificate, but it has a varnish finish, which gives it an extra shine. That's all it is. So, but even so, we know that they are anticipating a rise in silver price. We know this, as well as gold. We know that the BIS, which is the Bank of International Settlement, has moved gold from a tier 3 to a tier 1. And what that means is this: banks hold different assets on their books. But when they do an evaluation or they analyze the assets that these banks hold, some of these assets have volatility to it, which means they go up and down in value quickly. And because of that, that's a risk to when you're assessing a bank when you want to lend them money or do business with them. So since to them gold was too volatile, meaning it goes up and down, you were only a tier 3, which means you can only count 50% of its actual value on its books. That's what it meant. When they got moved to tier 1, that means they don't anticipate any volatility. As a matter of fact, they're anticipating the value going up. Therefore, 100% of the reported value of the coin is taken in consideration when doing an analysis of its assets. That's what that means. So that's huge news. We've never seen this before.
So Pimpy, let me ask you this. You know this.
Sure.
I don't know exactly the detail, but just very recently, apparently there was a situation. They were arresting a lot of employees from Goldman Sachs in New York City that were trying to commit some kind of fraud before the SWIFT was completely, the SWIFT system, was like changing into this new system, quantum financial system, the transitioned thing.
Yeah.
They were still trying to do something like illegal, and apparently they were arrested. How do you see, I want to ask you, and this is a combination of two questions. How do you see the banks in the very near future? And again, if you can emphasize on this for people who still have quite some amount of money in the bank, what amount of money is really secured right now in United States? What is it, $75,000 or is it below?
Are you talking about, I think you're talking about the SDIC, the insurance? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
FDIC
Yes.
insurance?
Yes.
Okay, so the amount is 250,000 is where it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
But somebody recently told me, no, they were sneaky and they lowered it down to 200,000. For those of you who don't know what that means, is if you have any amount of money over 250,000, or I should reword it, all monies 250,000 and lower are insured. If something should happen to the bank, your money is safe. Anything above that 250,000, your ass out. You lose it. Now, why this is the issue, in 2013, Cyprus had what's called a bail-in. What happens is all the money you have in your bank, you wake up one day and it's been taken by your government for whatever reason. And they had the right to do so. A law was passed. The only part that was protected was the amount that was covered by FDIC. That's what they did in Cyprus. So over there, I think the amount was 125,000. So we had interviews with people that had like $6 million in their bank. All of it was taken, but they got back their $125,000. And to add salt to the wound, they charged them a 6% tax on the amount. So that's called a bail-in. The problem with us over here in the United States is our FDIC, if you look on their books, how much money they have in their so-called coverage pool to cover people, there's not enough. FDIC is not going to protect you. There's enough to cover the derivatives that are out there, and it'll all go to that. In other words, saving the banks, but not the people. That's why it's an issue. So when I talk to my subscribers and I tell them, look, it's very important that you at least, whether or not you believe in this bail-in, whether or not you think it's going to happen, whether or not you think everything's going to be fine, if you have anything above that amount, the 250,000, what you might want to consider is if you have a 401k or an IRA, moving over about 35% of your money into precious metals. Now, there's a way you could transfer a percentage of your IRA without paying any taxes or anything to do with that. If you go to the Money Metals website,
Right.
you could scroll down to retirement accounts, or where they show you how to do that. And then this way, then you have precious metals. So if a third of, 35% of a third of your retirement fund is in precious metals, if the market crashes, you're protected. You have hedged against a bad market, because obviously what's going to happen, the market crash is going to cause the precious metals to go up in value. So whatever you lose, you'll most likely gain and then some through your precious metals. But if nothing happens, no big deal. You still have your retirement account, and you still have the precious metals whenever you need them. But having precious metals is a very important part of protecting yourself from any type of economical crash.
Pimpy,
Okay?
how you see the banks? Do you think those banks will be completely gone, like JP Morgan? Like, how many times they can pay those fees? Like, they should be already completely closed with all those crimes. Do you think they will be still like running as those banks?
No, they've been doing this for decades. Look, they make trillions of dollars off fraud. They pay $1 billion in fine. Nobody goes to jail.
And
They
nothing
don't lose
happened,
their license.
exactly. So
Nothing happens to them. What's to discourage them from keep doing this?
But do you think?
So what I say, we need to make a demand. We, the people, we need to make a demand that the laws are, if you are busted for committing fraud of any type, that depending on how big it is, you have to pay back the full amount, not part, the full amount of the money that you benefited from when you committed this crime. People have to go to jail that were aware of what was going on. And if, depending on how much crime you committed, you either immediately lose your license as a business, or you're on some type of probation, that if you're busted for this type of stuff again, then you lose your license. This would discourage people from doing this. But again, our bankers, Wall Street, politicians, our media are all part of the same crime family. They push the same agenda. So not enough is being done, not enough is being said about it, so they'll continue to do this.
But
as far as where I think banks are going to be.
Don't you think this is going to be changed in the next 4 years?
Well, there has to be some type of change, because we're going to go into a new monetary system. I'm just concerned about which kind. I think we still need banks. I think we should still have banks. I don't want to go into the push right now is for us to go into a 100% digital currency.
No, I agree with you. But you know what someone said, Pimpy? I think maybe you think the same way. You know, like someone advised to open accounts in those like local banks that are not the big banks, but it's like, you know, every area has like those small
credit unions, your local banks. They should have local banks. Family ran community banks. That's how it should be done, like we used to do back in the olden days. Yeah.
Yes.
But they'll use fear, and they'll use some stupid law, or they'll pass some stupid law or some regulations that prevent that from happening. You got to understand that the way the system is set up, that's like the goose that laid the golden egg. They're not going to do anything that will prevent them from continuing to gain wealth. That's the problem, and power for that matter.
So I want to ask you this, Pimpy. This is very interesting. I was wondering about this because when I buy from Money Metals Exchange, I decided to store it with them for two reasons. First, I mean, I didn't buy that much, but still, doesn't matter. First, because I feel safe. And second, because I don't have to pay the tax of California state. There are some states that people, when they buy precious metals from them, and they are shipped to their home, they don't pay tax. But we in California have to pay the tax. So
well, we live in liberal hell.
Yeah.
We pay taxes for everything.
Yeah.
I mean, they want to tax the rain, they want to tax the air, they want to tax the road you drive on, they tax our gas, they tax our food. Do you see what I'm saying? Any way in which they can rip you off, they do that.
Right.
Here's what I love about Money Metals, and that is this. So what we're seeing now is there's a stress on the comics in New York. Comics is where people around the world store their precious metals, but they also have an inventory in which they sell for people who want to buy large amounts. They deal in contracts. So there's actually more paper contracts than available physical precious metals. They're being exposed right now because people now are demanding the silver or gold that they bought. They want to have it in their hands, and they don't have it. So what they did is they committed fraud. They sold contracts on silver and gold they didn't have. So this is good. We want to see them get exposed. So this way then, again, we see what the bankers are doing. We see what our politicians are doing. We see what our media is doing. We're seeing where something like the comics, what they're doing. People are aware of this. The next thing is to make the changes that are necessary to prevent this from happening. So why I bring that up is this. They combine their inventory of the people that they're holding it for as the same inventory in which they sell. That's what got them in this problem. Money Metals keeps two different types of holding areas. One is for the inventory that they sell because that's what they do. They sell precious metals. The other is where they store for their clients. They store it for protection purposes. So it's separate. There is no selling your inventory.
That is crazy, Pimpy. All of this is crazy.
Yeah. So I love that. And here's the other funny thing too, is where you store your precious metals, the front office of this building is actually rented out to the sheriff's department. So you automatically have security there for yourself. It makes it wonderful, man. And I love the fact that they're a family-owned business that's here in the United States. I like that.
It's amazing because it's like this French comedy with Louis Define. You know, I just see this like a French police gendarmerie, you know, and there is money metals exchange and there is a sheriff. It's amazing. But Pimpy, for example, let's use you as an example. You live in California, you buy a lot from money exchange, and you pay tax. So when they ship to you, you have to pay tax. Now, my question is, the silver and gold the true value will be given hopefully soon.
No, there's a lot of anticipation.
Right.
Very, very
I'm like, please, God, please. And then what you have is abundance, okay? Now, do you still have to pay another tax from this new abundance again or no?
Depends on what state you are, and it depends on what's going on. You would have to pay what's called capital gains tax. All right? This is why many people in the precious metals community are a huge Donald Trump fan, because Donald Trump wants to do away with capital gains tax. So another example is, let's say you pay $100,000 on a house, you hold on to it for 5 years, and magically now it's worth $250,000. So you sell it. You have $150,000 in which you have to pay capital gains tax on, and the capital gains tax is really high. So again, you don't have to pay the taxes until you sell that asset. So as long as we hold our precious metals, you don't have to pay taxes on all of it. When you sell it, you have to pay the taxes. There is something in our Constitution about swapping currency for currency in which you don't have to pay taxes, but not to get political, but you have to. That doesn't matter to the Democrats who crap all over our Constitution. They still pass laws that say, you have to pay a capital gains tax even on precious metals when you shouldn't be, because all it is an exchange.
Yes, I mean,
by law, precious metals, gold and silver by law, are the only thing recognized as money.
Right.
Paper that we get from the Federal Reserve is recognized as currency. So it's not even recognized as money. That paper dollar that we run around with has no value. The only thing that gives it its value is our government says this is what it's worth, and we accept that. But the day we stop accepting that is the day it dies, and that's coming real soon.
So, Pimpy, what do you think? Who will be first in the revaluation of the currency, Vietnam or Iraq?
Wow. So this is okay. Let me see. I'm going to try to remember what I can again talk about.
Yeah, say it.
So here's what I can tell you, because I have the permission to do so, and that is See, this is why I hate doing that, because you hear all these people, oh, they got insider. I go, they don't. I do, but I don't talk about it. There's a reason for that, because most of the things we talk about, most of us know. I'm allowed to share it. Not everything, but I can tell you this. When it comes to Iraqi dinar, we're not exactly sure what the hell's going on with it, but I can tell you this. There is large, in the trillions, large amounts of it being moved around to central banks and to private holders.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking like a little bit. I'm talking about very, very large amounts. So when I'm talking to my currency friends, I says, what the hell is going on? Because we could see it happening.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, we're not sure. But whatever this event is that's getting ready to happen, that's what they call it, because nobody knows. Whatever it is, it's going to involve the Iraqi dinar. But we don't know what that is.
Pimpy, this is worldwide, right?
Worldwide. Yes, worldwide. Now, where I come in on a lot of this is, you know, I do have a friend that works for the State Department. Doesn't know anything about money. We don't talk about money. Him and I talk about geopolitics. That's why I told people long before it was announced, get ready for peace in the Middle East, because I knew what was going on. And I was allowed to talk about it to a certain point. But after talking with him, and then I talked to my currency friends, I'm like, you know, I wonder if this Middle East peace agreement has anything to do with it. Of course, it's speculation. I'm going to tell you now. This is just our opinions.
Mm-hmm.
But we can't help but feel like whatever's happening there, we're wondering if the Iraqi dinar is not going to play a huge part or huge role in this. So, you know, my friend said it best. He thinks the Iraqi dinar is going to be some like poor man's reserve dollar. Like we have our dollar is a world reserve dollar, that might play some kind of role during this transaction or transition to whatever we're going into.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's all speculation. Nobody knows. But, you know, there's a lot of great minds. We all put our heads together and we say, man, this is what I know. This is what I know. What does this look like? Now, the crazy thing about us talking about currencies is everybody knows this, or maybe they don't. I talk about gold and silver.
Mm-hmm.
I talk about cryptocurrencies.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about the Vietnam Dong. I talk about the Iraqi dinar. Talk about the Great Reset. I talk about Gesara. Now, what makes this crazy is each one of those are separate subjects that people talk about. Now, I monitor all of them, and I noticed in the past year, they started interacting with one another. And I was like, whoa, what's going on here? Because before it never did. Mm-hmm. Now, all of a sudden, they all seem to be overlapping. And that's what allowed me to make that video, of course, you know, where I had speculation on what Trump was really trying to do, and that his intentions were to create a new currency.
Great video. You know what? I have to find it and I will attach below, because honestly, Pimpy, this is exactly what you said there. Everything you said, I agree. That's how I feel too. Because that makes sense, because it really makes sense. When you watch this video, I put it below so people can click and watch. That's exactly, in the simplest way, explain. That makes sense for all of those events that are taking place right now.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, you know, people in the, also the QAnon environment, the QAnon crowd, they're all overlapping. So, you know, when people talk about the QAnon movement, whether people believe it or not, it doesn't matter. But in there, it talks about Q said, you know, gold will end the Fed. In other words, us going back to the gold standard. But I started thinking about it. I keep going, it's not enough to end the Federal Reserve. It would just be a matter of time before they got back in power. So the real issue is central banks around the world. That's the real problem.
Yeah.
It's their power, it's their influence, it's the money that they create. So how can you end the central banks? And that's what I did, is I created a theory that I put in those videos on how we can end it all.
Yep.
But it all comes from dealing with all the different subjects that I do. Exactly,
because you have so much knowledge and so many connecting avenues to this. That's what it is. Because well, they overlap. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah. Is this as I'm paying attention to what's going on, you know what I mean? I was like, oh, okay. So if I listen to
what all these different things are talking about,
Mm-hmm.
you start to see them overlap, and then you start putting the puzzle pieces together, is what it was.
You saw the hologram because it's connected.
Yeah. I like that.
Pimpy, you know, okay, so let's say Iraq will be first. And
Oh,
then,
that's what you asked. Which one will be first?
and
Okay,
then
so here's
Vietnam, right? Then Vietnam, then
I did see a so-called plan. I don't know how official it is. I don't have any faith in it, but I will at least share it with you. And the rationality behind it actually makes sense to me if you think about it. That you can't just revalue all currencies at the same time. It will cause some type of instability and lack of faith in this movement by the citizens. You have to do them in groups, like we're talking about. XYZ currencies will be reevaluated first.
Like, okay.
You wait, you wait to see what kind of effect it has on the economies, then the next group, then the next group.
Okay.
So it laid out a good plan. And I would say that Vietnam, the Vietnam Dong and Iraqi dinar are two of the 4 or 5 currencies in one basket, and they're chosen to go first is the word. So I understand why.
Go ahead. So let's just, before you continue with this, you said 2 of the 5. So can you say the other 3? What is it?
Let's see here. I believe it was
Zimbabwe,
Indonesia rupiah.
Okay.
The Thai baht.
So Thailand, Indonesia.
Yeah, and then the Zim dollar.
Zimbabwe. Okay.
Yeah, Zimbabwe. That was the first basket.
Okay.
And then in there it gives you rates, but the rates are so ridiculous looking. I did make a video and I showed people the plan, to be quite honest with you. I did. So, but the thing was, I'm like, I don't know about this. That doesn't mean it's not possible, but some of them rates are realistic looking. Other ones you're like, oh, no way. It's just no way. But then when you think about my theory about what they're trying to do, then you go, maybe it does make sense. And that's only because the rates in the example that I had, as high as they were, could only be achievable if you take in consideration these particular countries' natural resources, gold, silver, diamonds, minerals, agriculture, whatever they have, oil, you know what I mean? Copper, coal, all these things is why I'm saying this is going to be an asset-backed currency. So then I go, if they took that in consideration, yeah, these rates might be realistic.
And it's more realistic, exactly. Yes.
So, but for me, if I think about, if I apply the theory that I think Trump is really trying to accomplish, then we go to a more level playing field. And I think what they're trying to accomplish is a one-for-one exchange. So whether it's the Iraqi dinar, the Vietnam Dong, you would just exchange it $1 for $1 based on the new exchange rate and the new currency basket that they come up with.
But that dollar from Zimbabwe is like quadrillion. It's crazy.
That's not the one. That's been actually. I'm gonna eat a chip. Sorry. That one's kind of been disconnected or discontinued. The new ones are $3, $5. Have you seen the new ones?
I have the wrong one. I have with some strange elephant on it. So probably
you're supposed to be able to, and I have those too. I actually have one.
So what is it? Is it worth anything? My elephant?
I tell you because I'm looking past it. I have the one with the rocks on it. So here's the thing. The crazy thing is we used to make fun of the Zimbabwe dollar, and then I found out a private event took place, and for the most part, those individuals, the elite, holding on to Zim dollars, were able to redeem them, but it was only a private event. And I was like, "Are you serious?" And I'm talking to my friends because we made fun of it. And I go, we laugh, and I said, "That's the first one to go," and they go, "They did." So we don't know the rate. We know it got redeemed. So we're waiting for it to become a public event. I'm not sure. That obviously is not going to be. You're not going to be able to trade a $1 trillion Zim dollar for $1 trillion. No.
Listen, that is like No.
Mhm.
Which,
No.
yeah. But you know what? 1 second, water. Now, before I forget, if anyone wants to buy the dinar or zim or dong, Pimpy has the link. I will again attach Pimpy's website there and the channel. So that company Pimpy also on Gesara Club is there too. Like you connected there. But tell me, this is it's not in US, it's in Europe, in UK, right? Those
Yeah, in the UK. Okay. So I don't endorse any one company, but here was the thing: so many people were asking me where to go buy the dinar,
right.
and the company that I used to buy from, which was Exchange of America, they've been sold out. As a matter of fact, all the places we used to go to have been sold out. So, you know, these people approach me, they
So
watch
they
the
still
videos.
have it. They still have the dinars, right?
Yeah, they do. And so here's what happened is they reached out to me, you know, and they said, hey, we have a dinar. Now, usually I don't deal with companies that are not here in the United States. It's just one of these things. If somebody has a problem, we have to be able to reach people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they're like, we're here in the UK. And I was like, I don't know about that. But what I decided to do is I purchased some dinar from them to see if it's real in the whole 9 yards. And not only did the order get to my house, but got here really quick. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, so when people ask me now, I say, hey, it's they used to be called UK dinar, but they changed their name because people automatically assume because they're called UK dinar, they're only in the UK, and they decided to call it to Gesara, Gesara dot. I don't know. I just clicked the link.
Great
Or
name.
Gesara shop.
Great
Gesara
name
shop.
for the traffic, Pimpy. Great name for the traffic.
Yeah. So you know, I said yeah because people can relate to that, and here's the thing: there's countries that weren't able to go to before, like Exchange of America or other places. They weren't able to go to these websites and buy from them because it just depended on where you live. Where there's other people that we're dealing with right now, they can ship anywhere in the world, anywhere. there's no restrictions.
It's so important.
So and not just that, but when you make your order, when you purchase, they for my subscribers, they said, look, we'll work with you. Just tell your subscribers where they have an opportunity to enter a discount code, put in Pimpy, Pimpy, and I'll save some money. And I was like, okay, no problem. I mean, good. Then I have somebody I can refer to.
That's always
hey,
why not?
Yeah.
So Pimpy, I want to ask you this: when you, okay, let's say this revaluation is already happening. Now, how we go about it? Can you tell me where we actually literally physically exchange this currency for, let's say, US Treasury notes, if this will be already, or if it's still the fiat money, whatever it is? Where we go to the banks. How we go about it?
So here in the United States, there's a restriction on the currencies. You used to be able to go into Chase banks and other banks to buy Vietnam dong, but they stopped selling them for now. Once whatever this is that happens, obviously they'll remove the restrictions and allow the banks to do the exchange. So when I talked to my bank manager, which I'm at Wells Fargo, and I asked him, what do I do? If this happens, what do I do?
Yeah.
He said, well, it's real simple. You just bring the currency into me. He said, obviously, if you have millions of dollars, we're not going to give you millions of dollars to walk out with a shopping cart. It doesn't work that way. We would have to set an appointment so they can order that amount of money. I said, okay. He says, if you're just depositing it into your bank account, bring in the money, we validate that it's real. I tell you what the exchange rate is and how much money is going into your bank. If you agree, we charge you like 1% fee or 1.5% fee. I said, yeah, because we just deposited it and it's in your bank account. It's just that simple. I was like, wow, okay. so that's what he told me for us. But again, right now, Chase Bank, I think, is the only bank that you can go right now and actively exchange your dinar at. But you're going to be exchanging it at the current rate.
But you know, Pimpy, I want to tell you this. Each time when I go to Europe, when I go to Poland or like UK, especially when I'm in Poland, because I still have like in the bank the Polish account, right? in the bank.
Yeah.
I never exchange US dollar in the bank. I always exchange, or British pound, I always exchange in those like little shops they have on the street sometimes, you know, where you have exchange.
Yeah, you have exchange centers.
Exactly.
At
Because,
all international airports in the United States,
right.
they have those. You
And
know, you could go into these little, they look like you said, like little centers, little shops, whatever you want to call them. And let's say you're going to the Philippines and you have US dollars and you go, I want to exchange my currency, and they'll exchange it for you. So when you get there, you don't have to fumble around and mess around. When you come back and you still have Filipino dollars and you want your US dollars, just take it back and exchange it. So yeah,
because
they're not going to be able
but the
they're not going to be able to do huge amounts. You understand that they're there to exchange, you know, in the thousands of dollars, not millions. So you're not going to be able to take your currency there and exchange it unless you have small amounts. Some people might only have 25,000 dinars. Okay, fine. They might be able to exchange it for whatever 25,000, dollars. We'll see.
Yes. No, okay.
Large amounts, different.
So that really depends, because I feel like the rate will be, in my case, like the rate always was better at those little shops, exchange shops, than in the bank, because the bank always, screws you,
They do. People ask me, they say, well, I thought you hate banks. I go, I do. So they're like, you're going to leave your money in, or didn't you tell us not to? No, I have no intentions on leaving my money there. As soon as the exchange happens, immediately I'm going to turn around and put it right into precious metals. I'm not waiting. The very next day it's gone, That's the smart move.
So on that note, one more question I have is about when let's say people ask me this too, and that's why I want to ask you. When we are buying those precious metals, and then we will have this moment when the true value is announced and we are in gold standard, praise the Lord. Now, what is the best way, how we go about to sell that gold and silver? Do we also use the money metals exchange for this transaction, like we sell it to them?
Yeah.
Or what is the other way? Is there any other way people want to consider?
Okay, so for those of you see, money metals doesn't just sell precious metals, but they also buy them. Okay? It just depends on the value of the coins. There's lots of things you could do. Obviously, if it's worth a ton of money, you're not going to be able to go to your local coin dealer, or you definitely don't want to go to a coin shop. You could go to the bank, because if we go to the gold standard now, the bank will be able to make the transition.
Okay.
You know what I mean? You could, same thing. So if we go to the gold standard or the silver standard, or the gold and the silver standard, you would take your ounces in and you would exchange it, and they would deposit it into whatever the new currency is, or whether we stay in an old fiat currency. Keep in mind, 90% of the money that we have out there in the world is digital. There's no physical currency for it. So it would just go digitally into your account.
Okay.
You would live very, very happy.
So Pimpy, the final thoughts. Tomorrow is the day. Hallelujah.
Election day. Well, let me encourage everybody. I will tell you this. And I was telling people this, not because I wanted people to vote for Trump, because everybody knows I'm a Trump supporter. But for you Iraqi dinar and Vietnam dong holders, I can tell you this. The people in the currency world are already talking. And we're already told that if Biden wins, you're not going to see any changes in the currency for years. These people don't all support Trump. These people are Biden supporters, but they also realize that Biden's part of the same machine that's prevented this from happening before. So I encourage everybody to get out and vote. I encourage everybody to grab your friends, grab your neighbors, grab your relatives, grab whoever, and vote. Okay? People always say, well, what do you think, Pimpy? I go, look, I was a Democratic strategist for a couple of years. So we look at different things and we rely on different things to tell us the truth about an election. We know polls are bullshit. It depends on who pays them. They are skewed. We know that the pollsters purposely skew them. We know the media is paid to skew the numbers. So we look for different things. We look for voter enthusiasm. So when I look out there and I see 8, 12, maybe 15 people showing up at a Joe Biden rally, and then I see 20, 30, 40,000 people showing up for Trump rallies, I see no spontaneous boat parades for Biden, no spontaneous car caravans for Biden, but then I see a 92-mile long Trump supporting caravan. I see a record-setting caravan of Trump supporting boats out there. I go, no, that's what we look for.
Yep.
We know, and here's the thing, these are happening in blue states. I'm in California. This is liberal hell.
Yeah.
San Diego, Chula Vista,
Pimpy, Newport Beach,
Beverly Hills, Hollywood.
Yeah, Newport
Beach, San Francisco, Sacramento has some of the largest pro-Trump rallies I've ever seen. Huntington Beach. So Black Lives Matter went there to tear down Huntington Beach, except for they ran into a huge problem. A huge amount of them are Trump supporters, and a huge amount of those Trump supporters were professional MMA fighters that you see when you're watching Ultimate Fighting Championships. Chuck Liddell, you know what I mean? Tito Ortiz. These are pro-Trump people, and they were there to make sure that nobody burned down their little town. So you had like about 20 Antifa members wearing the BLM shirts, and then you had hundreds of pro-Trump people that are ready to put the smackdown on these people. So it's starting to change. Don't let the media convince you that Trump is not loved, because it's a lie. Now I'm going to make a prediction on your show, and you can hold me to it. Here's my prediction. Trump is going to set a record for the amount of, as a Republican, for the amount of votes he gets from the black voters. It's going to be the highest it's ever been. He's going to smash the records for the amount of Democrats that vote for him as well. He's going to smash the record for the number of Hispanic voters. The media is lying to you. When I go out there and I see these rallies and I see his rallies, his events, when I see these spontaneous caravans, when I look at 32,000 cars in a parking lot in Florida and they have out there Cubans for Trump, that's the minority community. Venezuela's for Trump. Israel had a huge biker rally for Trump. This is in Israel, Jerusalem, all wearing Trump flags.
Yes,
when I see these,
yes, I just saw this. You're right.
Yeah, when I see, 92,000 pro-Trump people celebrating and holding a street rally in the UK, I was like, what the hell? People got to understand it's not just the United States. So my friend said it the best. Trump is not just fighting for Americans. The rest of the world knows that if the United States falls, we all fall.
Yes.
Trump's fight is our fight. Our fight is Trump's fight. So we know and we count on Trump not only saving Americans, but saving the rest of the world. And when I hear that from more than one person from other countries, man, it touches your heart, and then you realize I'm on the right side of history.
Yes.
So that's my prediction, a Trump win with record turnout in his favor from Democrats as well as the minority communities.
Thank you.
Go vote. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. You know, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful movement because you see, and like I was never into politics, and it's really from March when I was diving deep into why they really hate him so much. I never hated him. I was just not giving my attention to him too much because I was not into politics. But now I am,
Well,
I am so
wait.
moved. But Pimpy, I am literally moved when I watch those rallies, and he repeats a lot of the stuff the same, okay?
He
Because
does, but we love it. It's funny. Again,
but
I'm gonna eat a chip. I'm sorry.
he
I
makes
got a headache.
the point of this is I am so moved by the energy that comes from this and how people are, they're like, you can see in like the heart,
Yeah.
they usually care so much, they really care, it's from their heart. And they are in this freezing cold in Pennsylvania, and it's windy and it's snowy, everything, but they are still there. They are waiting hours and hours before he even shows up.
No,
And
let me show you something. So I'm talking to my friends. They want me to go back and work for Democrats. It's not gonna happen. So I'm talking to my friends. We're making it. They're trying to tell me that Trump's people are bad. And I'm just like, dude, you're wrong. Let me prove it to you. They said, you can't prove it to us. I go, I can't. Okay. If you took me to a Biden rally, I hate to use that term because I'm like 5 people, and I'm pretty sure by myself I could kick all their asses. So let's just say for the sake of it, we went to a rally for the left, and there were several thousand people
I have to add to it. You will have your own special, like Trump says, perfectly circulated circle.
Yeah. I can fight within my circle. No. So here's my thing. Let's just say for pretend. Let's say all those angry people you see looting and burning stuff down. Yeah. Let's say they're all at a rally, I told my friend. He's like, okay. I said, would you walk in there with the Trump hat? He goes, oh, hell no. I was like, no. Why wouldn't he? He goes, no, they're liable to kill you. I go, okay. You can walk into a Trump rally wearing the Biden hat.
That's the thing.
If you told them you were just here to see what was going on, they would welcome you in there because you know how I know this? I've seen several rallies where people tried it. And he goes, and I go, so that's how you know the media is lying about Trump supporters and they're being violent versus the people on the left. You won't even wear a Trump hat in a left rally. No. You can wear a left hat in a Trump rally and you'll still be welcome.
You're so right. And I want to finish with this and I want to tell you this, what happened. Where I live, I've seen, of course, I haven't been on every single little street here where I live, but I move enough around to have an idea. Pimpy, I swear to you, I only saw 2 or 3 signs. All of them were removed the next day. Okay? The other signs are not removed. And I saw 2 days ago, I saw a truck with flags. I literally had like tears in my eyes and they were like driving with this huge truck. I was like, yes, oh my God, this is like the first time I see it. It's unbelievable. And I was
I don't live far from Stockton, California.
But not here, but Pimpy, not here. Here is like completely on the flip side.
No, that's what I'm telling you. Okay, so Stockton is predominantly left, predominantly black, predominantly Hispanic. Black Lives Matter people. So when I go to the neighborhoods, I only seen 1 Biden sign. 1.
Just 1?
I didn't see no Trump. I didn't see only 1. I didn't see no Trump signs except for on the rich part of it. None. And I was like, their own people aren't even excited about this guy.
But here, no, I see Biden signs everywhere. And I just saw 3 Trump signs and they were gone the next day. And then this guy.
Good Lord, man. You see at least 3. That's more than I've seen when I went to Sacramento and Stockton combined.
Okay.
I wouldn't worry about it. You know, the only way the people on the left can win is by cheating, rigging the election, and they're going to try it. They know they can't win. So, the Iowa statistics came out. Mail-in voting, early voting always favors the Democrats. It always does. Republicans always vote in person. So that means in order for Democrats to win, they have to be up this high in early voting and mail-in voting because they know Republicans come out. 67 to 68% of Republicans vote in person versus that many for Democrats usually mail-in. Trump is ahead 51% to 49% in early and mail-in voting. They're going to get slaughtered on the
I
day of the
agree with
election.
you 1000%. I do.
Yep.
The only thing, and I know because that was one of the reasons why they froze your Facebook, is that what it will be, I think, and I think you think similarly, they will not say the truth out in the media, and because of this, it will be also a certain way of turmoil and aggression and destruction for some time. So I feel now we can have two scenarios with this if it goes this way. Either it will quickly be brought down, like 3 days and like chill, all right, enough, or it will go on a little longer and then this whole situation will be taken to the court, and we are talking like January is the final decision.
No, it's going to be quick. They're not anticipating how much of a landslide Trump's going to win by. It's going to be such a large margin that they can't even rig the election. They're going to try to, but it's not going to count. Again, as a person who's a strategist, what we look for is a voter enthusiasm. And there is zero. Look, even Obama came out. No former president.
40 people only.
Yeah. No former president has ever come out to campaign for another candidate. That's because they know their asses are going to jail. Even with the Democratic Messiah coming out to campaign for Joe Biden, they still cannot draw a crowd. The crowd for Trump supporters who were there heckling them and making noise was bigger than the amount of people that came out to support Biden. That's how you know we're going to win.
But you know what I want to ask you, Pimpy, do you feel like those events that will be, you know, destructive and quite dangerous after, okay? Because I think it's going to happen. It just depends to what scale it will go. They will still try to destroy and,
of course,
and scare people.
Well,
okay, how long you think this will go? Will it be this like few days and it's over, or you think it will continue?
So, I don't know if you caught it. I did a video showing you that these idiots that did a Zoom meeting.
Yes.
More credit to, what's her name? Millie.
Yes, and this is actually, can I just say, Millie Weaver and Tori says.
Yeah.
Tori is my favorite. I'm like addicted to Tori, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we are talking about the same thing. So
yeah.
You know, now, how long you think? This will be like a week, 2 weeks?
Well, the point I want to make about the video is this. The people that are attempting this coup, and they said it's a coup, they tell you in the video.
Yeah.
That they're governmental employees.
Correct.
Okay? So people are like, well, I don't think it's a secret. If we know, then they know. Of course they know. Of course Trump's people know. If Trump wins, we will have something that resembles a civil war, but it will probably last maybe a few days.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay.
If Biden wins, this will be a legitimate civil war.
Yeah,
and it will last a very, very long time. There's no way on God's green earth the patriots are going to allow them to rig the election and try to turn us into a socialist country. That's not going to happen.
I agree. And you know what is amazing, and we finish with this? I was 8 years old when there was martial law in Poland. And when I was growing up, I saw the communism and I saw how it is. So in a way, I am kind of, I'm not saying I'm ready for it. I don't want to be ready for something like this. But I also know how it is when you have to back off a little bit. I'm talking like a woman. I'm not going to go and fight on the street, okay? My point is that it will pass. It's just
you can. We're going to give you some nunchucks. We're going to teach you some karate. I'm going to have you out there karate chopping people on their neck, all right? You know, poke them in the eye, do whatever it takes. No. Because it might come to that. Did you see my video about the conversation I had with the Miss Vasquez from Cuba or Florida? I did this video about it.
I haven't watched this one, no.
So it's got a cover of a guy on there with red on, and it says Cubans for Trump. That's the picture of my video. Okay. So So, you know, I get a lot of people going, oh, Pimpy, when you make videos, it doesn't sound like you're positive Trump will win. I go, no, you're misunderstanding. I want people to understand that what I'm trying to do is warn you and bring things to your attention. But even so, this lady, Miss Vasquez, just call me. Or she tell me, I want to talk to you, I want to talk to you. And I was like, okay, so sometimes when I can, I do reach out and I talk to my subscribers. So I get a hold of her. I think still to this day, it's kind of hard to get used to the fact that you have fans. You know what I mean? Like people who get excited when you call. So when I called her, she was really excited, and she's in this little shop, and all her Cuban relatives are there. And she's, oh, I got Pimpy on the phone. I said, okay, so what's going on?
Oh, she was, it's amazing. It's like the whole village comes.
Yeah. So she was trying to explain to me. And you got to see in the video because I wrote it down as she was talking. I told her I wanted to write it down, but she was explaining the difference between, you know, America, because they come from Cuba. She says we're Cuban exiles. I said exiles, not refugees. She says the difference is refugees are escaping the, you know, what the government's doing to you. Yeah. Exiles are political protesters who are forced out of their country.
Wow.
So they are I'm on a video, thank you. They're in exile. So, you know what I mean? Just keep knocking on the door. Obviously, if I'm not answering, there's a reason. So anyway, so you have, they're in exile. And so she's like, she was a political person who was forced out of her country, is what it was. So she was saying, I want to explain something to you. She goes, we know what socialism is.
Yes.
We have people here from Cuba, Venezuela, Colombia. She was naming all these countries. She goes, we saw this coming a long time ago, Pimpy. And she says, we started forming communities and groups within our environment or within their community, talking about, you know, what could they do? What could we do? And so she says, we come across your video about the investments and we're talking, and she's like, I got to talk to Pimpy. And she was explaining to me, and it's hard not to get emotional, but then watch the video. She was explaining to me, she goes, let me tell you your pledge. She goes, you know, it says, I pledge allegiance to the flag. She goes, you guys live here in the United States. So to you, it's just, you take it for granted. You say it every day.
Yeah.
She says, what we do is we say, so it says, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. And I said, okay. She says, in our minds, and it says this, we pledge allegiance to our new home and the citizens who live within this community. And I thought, oh,
beautiful.
Watch it. It's hard not to get emotional.
Yeah.
Because this is what she's saying. The pledge is different. It has a different meaning to us. And she goes, to the republic for which it stands. She goes, to us, and that is to the institutions that make the country great is why it stands. One nation under God, indivisible. So she knows that one nation under God. She stopped me there. I said, yeah. She goes, it's one nation that's united because of God. In God, we stand as one with God in this nation. And I was like, okay. And she goes, now the next part, it's being challenged, which is indivisible with liberties and justice for all. She goes, we are a divided nation. She goes, and she was explaining why. She goes, because, she goes, Pimpy, they don't know what it's like to be in a socialist country. They don't know what it's like to be in a communist country. They have infiltrated our institutions at the highest.
I lost your sound, Pimpy.
There you go.
Someone was calling.
No, it's okay. When somebody calls, when somebody calls. So it says, when somebody, we saw long ago when Obama came in, a communist had taken over. So we wanted to let people know. So this is what she said. I'll kind of sum it up because that's the remodelers are here. So this is what they said real quick. And that is this. She goes, do you understand that where we come from, we are at this moment prepared to fight.
Wow.
Guns, whatever. Most of us are military exiles. We are organized and we are ready to do whatever it takes to preserve this country, to keep it where it is, the free country. She goes, even my 92-year-old mother, who's behind me now, and she's got a wooden paddle. She said she'll go out there, smack people with the paddle. And I was laughing because you can picture her there. She's like, I'm not going to let anybody turn this country into a communist country. So you got to watch that video because it's a great conversation with a great woman and her family. She just wanted to say, look, don't give up hope. I said, I'm not. She goes, and when it's time to fight, if we have to, we'll fight. She goes, but Trump will win. And I was like, all right. She goes, we are not giving up Florida. We will cover Florida. And that's where they're at. They're in Florida.
Thank you, Pimpy. Thank you.
No problem.
It's so beautiful because this is the best ending for our conversation. Because I believe all of this is happening for really the greatest thing that can happen.
Yeah.
The old systems will be completely gone. It will be new way of living, and people will, I hope, they won't take for granted what they.
I think after this, you'll never see people take it for granted again. Not for generations, anyways.
No. Thank you so much for all.
No problem.
Pimpy.
Bye-bye. Thank you for having me.